Well, let's see. It says go live, and we are live. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing? Yes, I got it, and everybody else has got it too. So, way to go. Hello, everybody. Thursday here, and I hope you're having a happy one. I am just kind of thinking and remembering the good times with that I enjoyed listening to Jeff Beck back in the day. So if any of you are Jeff Beck fans, and I know many of you are, Gilbert, I saw your email last night. Yeah, it's the creators of this, whatever you want to call it. Rock and roll is as powerful, if not more powerful, than any religion, any politics, any ideology. Rock and roll. And many of us who had the privilege and the honor, I have to say, of living through that time in our youth. I mean, we were gods and goddesses, warriors, champions, defining new areas that socially and culturally may have been 10,000 plus years ago, but not in the modern time. From a DJ there in Cleveland, Ohio, that phrased it, rock and roll, baby. And from there, immortality was launched. A goddess who had been restrained brought her armada with her, and I mean both gods and goddesses, poured themselves through us. We channeled them, and look at the music we got. Wow. You can say much the same with film, but something about rock and roll. Music has always been a part of us, but rock and roll, and I'm talking about not the stuff today. I'm talking about the time when it really came from here, and the master musicians who were magicians, wizards of their times, poets. They brought something. They brought a vibe, a frequency. And you can say, well, it was good or it's bad. I don't care. I don't see it as either. I just saw it as rock and roll. I remember it. Rock and roll was the only thing with me when I was out on the street at 15. People let me down. The system had let me down. Didn't matter. I had rock and roll. I had music. And there was an abundance of it. It was good. Creating new egregores, new ideas. And from there, it gave birth to more and more. And it was people like Jeff Beck. He was a pioneer with so many bands. That whole British thing. And I if you study it and you study what happened, particularly in Britain, it has a lot of resemblance to paganism. Weird, isn't that? And this energy. I mean, by the way, favor to everybody. We're just kind of flowing with where it's going. But to finish out the thought, it was such creativity. There was a name for it over here in America called the British Invasion. And the thing about it is that it covered all genres, the blues, what I would call, well, good old rock and roll, even what we called bubblegum music. There was some great artists, one-hit wonders. But Jeff Beck reminds me of the likes, because Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart was playing for Jeff Beck back in the 60s. Little music trivia, John Barley, don't lay no boogie woogie on the king of rock and roll. you know, who's playing the piano and the guitar was Elton John on the Ivories, and a little bit of Mr. Rod Stewart. Yeah. Jeff Beck. It says that according to Jimmy Page, you know, Jimmy Page came from the Yardbirds to form Led Zeppelin, that it hadn't been for Jeff Beck's influence. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, so here we go. So welcome to Alanka. How are you going to do, honey? I will get you caught up on your emails and your on the books. Yeah. Brian, what's up? Good to see you. Robert V. Scotty Boy and Lost in Space. Jargo, what's up? Deborah Sloan, how are you? Good to see you. Back Ass Words Weird World. Love it. Welcome. Yeah. DC, good to see you, my friend. Absolutely. John, what's up? John Mayall. Yeah, they don't, do they? John Mayall. Now you're getting back. Savoy Brown. Yeah. Wow. Hey, Scotty boy. Good to see you, Mary Wins. Hello, much love to you, darling. Chloe, what's up? Good to see you. Let's see, Jargo, good to see you, Elderberry. Yeah, so anyway, at least the question's answered for Jeff. You know, he now knows. No speculation on his end. He knows he's over there, wherever there is. It's there somewhere. So again, favor to everyone. Nothing missing, nothing broken be our constant reality in our life. And may favor abound in your life. Be of service to others, as we like to say. And man, remember, you're prospering. You may not feel like it is, but you know, how much worth is an experience? How could you put a price on it? There's a question. For that emotion, do I hear what? Could you put a dollar? I mean, that just to me profanes it, you know. MasterCard tried to make a whole thing on it, you know, priceless. And it's true. The idiom is absolutely true. It's priceless. Yeah. I wonder how much an emotion may weigh on the other side. You know, if you collect your tears, they're very powerful. Mm-hmm. What are tears? Mostly salt. What is salt? Mostly crystals. OMG. Hello, Genetically. What's up, girl? Good to see you. Mark Smith. Mark, I trust in it's going well for you down there, my friend, in Mexico. Sending you a favor all around. Pin Greedy, good to see you as well. Everyone, y'all are just, it's a lovely energy in here. I love it. It's kind of cool. No, it's not kind of, it is. There's no guessing to it. No reason to be ambiguous at all. So anyway, Jeff Beck. It won't be long and we're going to hear Ronnie Woods, you know, Keith Richards. Yeah, the rest. Yeah. Kind of thinking of that song. I think it was Clarence Carter about, you know, there's going to be a whole lot of singing on the other side. We've got a lot of them over there, don't they? I mean, did Jeff Beck just cross over? And I mean, there was the band, you know, you had Lennon, Harrison, Buddy Holly. I mean, you can just add to them, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I'll try to book them for the gig on when you cross over and make sure to come to Steiger's Beach. I'll try to book them for a gig there. Yeah, that'd be a concert, wouldn't it? Did I tell you there would be concerts there? Yes. Wouldn't be a place, you know, on the sand and the surf and without the music. Got to have the music. Yes. Hey, I am Nancy. What's up? Good to see you. I know no one. There you go. I love that. Who was that? It was no one. Hello from Missouri. Yeah, and it is wet and damp. Yeah. Love it. Love this weather. Blazing River, what's happening? I think Keith are actually passed and nobody is, it could be true. A lot of truth to that one. I mean, him and, you look at Keith Richards and Ronnie Woods, when Faces did their farewell tour with Rod Stewart, I saw that concert in Houston, Texas. And Ronnie Wood was just one of those guys that he wasn't a good looking dude, I'm just saying. But yet, he proved everybody wrong, Dude was a rock and roller. But anyway, Melissa, what's up? Good to see you. Mark, good to see you. Stealing a fast coffee break. Well, make it a long one, right? You got to let the coffee cool down, That's what I'm saying. So go. So anyway, what else is on my list? So lots of emails and interesting comments on, the programs, the last couple we've been doing. I'm telling you, Maria Eyes to See, going to get her on with us. And I'd probably like to even get Ryder Lee and Chris. This aspect, and it's so interesting because the opinions and the views expressed were passionate. They came, from the core. And the idea of the male female is already one, that because, is the goal to become androgynous? Is that where we're heading? I mean, I don't know. It makes the journey more interesting if you have the two energies going. I mean, if the goal is basically for us to become homogenized, so to speak, the expression "go fuck yourself" really does have some meaning, doesn't it? I'm just saying. Okay, let's continue right on along. If there's kids listening to that, well, hey, listen, you've heard far worse out there. I certainly ain't breaking no lines here, but I digress, So that one, and the group is pretty well diversified in, how we reunite back to one. I mean, if you take, these books, the book of Genesis, the Quran, others that the Nag Hammadi, I can think of the pseudo-apocrypha, the Apocalypse of Adam, the Colburn Bible, and all the stories, they never start out with a female. None. As close as we can get it there was suddenly two that apparently came from one. Okay. I can adapt to that. I can say, okay, yeah. I don't know if that's the case, but for an argument, I'd say it carries a lot of weight. Okay. But the one that has gotten this group, and I dare say if this ever went out on a viral level, I can only imagine what the Christian community would be doing with this, because it ain't my words. It's not the words of an occultist. It's not word of a pagan. I didn't write it. It's in their book. They give their playbook to everybody. If you're smart enough, you can actually read it as a playbook. But anyway, I didn't say it. It said it. And a lot of you can't, in this area of addressing, well, who were these first humans? Most likely, it seems like they were the first humans, because the second humans to come along, They were created out of the dead. Did you hear me? Us, you, me, you and I were created from the dead. The dust is merely the decomposed aspects of matter, material, biological material. That's how you get dirt. I mean, we eat the dead every day. This is the death realm. I mean, it just confirms it over and over again. So it says that it created Adam, man, from the dust of the earth. Well, that's from the dead. I don't know where the other two were. Just suddenly they were. Okay, I kind of like that one much better than when you start giving some real thought to this one going, oh, now wait a minute. He said, what? If you plant a garden and you put compost in there, what is compost? Yeah, it's bacteria from dead stuff. And then from the dead stuff, we grow stuff that we call alive. But once we eat it, it's dead stuff again. So we are actually literally created from the dead. That puts a spin on it. But getting back to this group and what happened, the idea that women, females, do not have a living soul, again, is one that has just gone. And I dig it. I dig it. Maybe here on Earth, maybe the reason why they isolated us out here, hell, they didn't even put us in the outfield. We're past the stands. We're behind the billboard, cosmologically speaking. I mean, maybe we got our own thing going on here, because I certainly hope the rest of the universe is not like this. This is weird. I like what someone said as well, said about, the void that we've captured, and we know it's there. And he said, what if we just reverse this and that actually is a very bright light? You have to be of a certain perspective, could be point of view, to see it as immense light. And it's interesting because it says in Biocentrism, and we're going to visit that again, it says this plane of existence is dark. Light is artificial. The darkness consumes energy. Energy is light. There's two types of beings, those that are of the light and those that are of the darkness. And in that construct, it's not good or evil. It's just the way it is. We seem to do a pretty good job of adding to that. Hey, Sarah, what's that? And on the 12th day, well, thank you, dear. She said, on the 12th day, the tribe got together, shared words, and hit the like button, y'all, to share. I appreciate that. But it is one that it's a great, talk about breaking the ice in a conversation with a group. Hey, Mary, did you I heard this weirdest thing on this guy talking and never had even thought about this, but he said he was using the Bible, in fact, and he said that, in fact, what it did, the Bible said that you ain't got no soul, sister. I don't know if that's a good way to make friends or not, huh? Excuse me, making friends and influencing others, right? Woo! I mean, talk about a conversation like, what? Yeah. So anyway, we move right on along. I love this. Hey, Grace, what's up, girl? Truth Seeker and Pyramid 7, good to see you as well. Man, a great group of people. Haven't been on for a while. Haven't seen you, Grace. Need some positive healing vibes my way. I'm kicking some ass here. Well, all right, girl. Tell you what. Thought knows no barriers, time nor distance. So I can just see your image and just say, all right, dumping that healing vibe on you. Speaking those cells, start getting happy feet. You're kicking the virus's ass. It's, whatever ails you. And they're hightailing it out the door. You bet they are. Take your sorry ass out of here and don't get back here. Kick your ass again next time there. Genetically, you're right. Male seahorses explain that. It's all coming around to being full circle. And there we are with that circle thing. Again. Around and around and around we go. Yeah. Man, y'all remember the merry-go-rounds and the play parks? Wow. For some people, those things are horror. I know a lot of kids that didn't like them, and I always wondered, why did they put them in a child's playground? The swing, I can dig that, man. I mean, you get that whole rhythm. That is a great isometric core workout. If you can find something, remember the swings, how far you could actually swing yourself up. Yeah. But the spinning thing, man, I knew more kids that got hurt on that thing. It's like, again, okay. Not the one. Good to see you. This is Eyes to See. Okay. Good way to go, Marie. Way to go. I hear you. Fractal builder. The cycle might be part of a larger cycle, like most fractals. Now, it's interesting because I don't see a fractal as a circle. I mean, maybe it's in my head, but I see a fractal. Wow. This is an interesting thought. So to me, a fractal is more like this, and it's like multifaceted when I look at it. And each facet that I see of this shard, I guess, is multi-dimensional, multifaceted within itself. And within each one of these facets, I see a fractal. That's just me. What can I say? I love it, though. A fractal can be made a circle. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I love this conversation. All right. So got a couple of books I thought I'd throw at you. Hey, that's what we do here. I mean, at least we can honestly say, learn something today. And it wasn't a waste. I don't know what we can do with the knowledge, but we can do something with it. So let me go over here to the first one, because we're going to be talking about gates, and we're going to get there. I found this interesting, and this is not one of these things that can be misconstrued in a, I don't know, weird way. But the Book of Pleasure, Self-Love, the Psychology of Ecstasy. That is a word you don't hear much in the modern day nomenclature. You just don't hear it. I mean, you don't hear a person say, I was having my ice cream and fell into complete ecstasy. Actually, it would probably be the right word instead of saying, I just love ice cream. But the psychology of ecstasy. Quick poll, and I'll go back and I'll look at the chat, but all of you in the chat. So how many times in a day, a week, a month, a year, do you experience moments of ecstasy? I'm reading this book on death, and do you know that in a part of ancient paganism that they viewed death as this ecstasy? It was the accumulation of all feeling, all emotion. And that brought forth this ecstasy. This, and you think about it, ecstasy, and then I can think of the word, when I hear ecstasy, to me, immediately I see it spiritually as release. If you're in ecstasy, I would dare say you're in full release. Anyway, here's some definitions on the word ecstasy. I love this. So check this out. The words gods, religions, faiths, morals, women, they being forms of belief, are used in expressing different means of controlling and expressing desire. Desire is a very analogous word. I mean, it's kind of a blank slate. I mean, we could get Bob Ross in here and we could paint whatever that desire is. It's an idea of, look at this now, of ecstasy. Get this. It's an idea of unity by fear in some form or another, which must spell bondage, the imagined limits. Wow. Spell bondage. That sounds a lot like that witchcraft crap to me. Yeah. Extended by science, which adds a dearly paid inch to our height no more. Kaya. The absolute freedom, which being free is mighty enough to be reality. Wow. The absolute freedom, which being free is mighty enough to be reality. Wow, we could have fun with that one. This group here, are you kidding me? And free at any time. Therefore, is not potentially or manifest except as its instant possibility by ideas of freedom or means, but by the ego being free to receive it, by being free of ideas about it, and by not believing. Hi, Brenda, Street Mom. How you doing, dear? The less said of it, Kai, the less obscure is it. Remember, evolution teaches by terrible punishments that conception is ultimate reality, but not ultimate freedom from evolution. Wow. I love this stuff. I mean, it's like eating a brownie, a special brownie, and you have your favorite libation there. You're going, hey, man, this is good stuff to really get into some deep discussions about. I loved it. The ideas of freedom or means, but by the ego being free to receive it, by being free of ideas about it and not believing. Weird. Not really. Virtue, pure art, vice, fear, belief, faith, control, science, and the like. Self-love, get this one. A mental state, mood, or condition caused by the emotion of laughter becoming the principle that allows the ego appreciation or universal association in permitting inclusion before conception. I love that, man. I mean, when I hear that one, I went far out. I mean, that when I read that, it was like, Okay. Yeah, I can get up to that. Self-love, a mental state. Okay. So a mental state could be said a state of consciousness, a mood, definitely consciousness, state of consciousness, or condition caused by the emotion of laughter, becoming the principle that allows the ego appreciation or universal association in permitting inclusion before conception. We had our whiteboard. This would be really interesting. So a principle, the 7 principles of Hermetics. All right. Laughter as a principle, which is an emotion. Keep asking, do spirits have emotions? I hope they do. Little digression. Someone had it on a television show. I think it was like the Paranormal Caught on Camera or whatever. I have to say, when I saw this clip, that was probably some of the most disturbing crap I've ever seen. Have y'all seen the one where it's down in Alabama and the security guard that's at the cemetery, and he's driving, and as he's going amongst the tombstones and the mausoleums and in the graves, there's this child, looked to be about 5 or 6, had its back to the officer, and he's rolling the camera the whole time, and he's hollering at the kid. And the kid has this weird stance. And then the kid just, like, a bat out of hell. Meatloaf. I love that. Anyway, so here's a security cop running after this kid, telling the kid, stop, are you hurt? Don't need to be afraid. And the kid takes a fast left around this, and it was a mausoleum. And as the officer gets there, kid's gone. That wasn't the strangest part. The strangest part is that when they went in to where you can actually have, your grave entombed in a mausoleum type vault system with other people as well being buried there. And they're getting something tripped off on their motion sensor. So here's this security cop. He gets in there. He gets into, unlocks the door, and and like I said, it's a vault. It's a mausoleum with lots of other dead people. And he hears this little girl laughing, and he hears her singing. What was it? Ring Around the Rosie, Posy. And so he's walking amongst the different rows, and then he's here, boom, 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 everywhere. Well, he gets a little freaked out and leaves. Don't blame him. At that point, it's one against whoever. How many? So then, next day, night, back at that same vaulted mausoleum, and apparently they also have a room for wakes and funerals right there. And it's designed like a chapel. And he can see coming in that the lights are flashing on and off. And again, he's hearing singing. It ain't the kind that you would really want to, get your guitar and join in. It's a little weird singing, and it's loud. I mean, it's got music. I mean, the whole thing. And so he comes in, and he's got his flashlight, and he says, security, and then that little child's voice turned into whatever the hell you want to call it. It definitely wasn't friendly, and screams, "Get out." Now, that's the kind of stuff that you stop and you're going, okay, now wait a minute. All my life, I was taught that you die, you're either going to go up, you're going to go down, right? You're going to have the angels there to supposedly meet you, or you may have the demons to escort you. And it's just a bizarre reality. But when you see this kind of stuff, it brings me, and I know I completely have gotten off topic, but yet it's interesting that why children? I mean, do we not age, or do we enter into the other side as our age? And this certainly contradicts this whole idea that you're drawn towards a light and that there is somehow this benevolent deity waiting for you. Because, if you're letting children, and I've studied this, that it's just in many, many, many times we're capturing more and more children. All right. Anyway, let's get back to this. It's all right. I'm driving the bus. I know exactly where we are. So let's get back to ecstasy, exhaustion, the state or vacuity brought by exhausting a desire. The vacuity brought by exhausting a desire by some means of dissipation when the mood corresponds to the nature of the desire. When the mind is worried because of the non-fulfillment of such desire and seeks relief. By seizing this mood and living, the resultant vacuity is sensitive to the subtle suggestion of the sigil. Wow. The sigil. Well, I can pretty much figure out, I can read between the lines up here. I get that. There's different states of exhaustion. If you're kind of like me, you like, if you're doing a project or outside project, building project or something, can be exhausting, but there's a certain satisfaction and a certain fulfillment of a desire. All right. So, I love this. Different religions and doctrines as means to pleasure, freedom, and power. What is there to believe but in self? And self is the negation of completeness as reality. No man has seen self at any time. We are what we believe, and what implies by a process of time in the conception. Creation is caused by this bondage to formula. Oh, come on, that's just cool as all get out. What is there to believe but in self? I don't know about you, but I talk to myself all the time. And there are times when I question myself. That's odd. I said, I'm thinking, and yet who is listening? Is it just me? And how am I listening? Again, it's one of those things that, where do my thoughts originate from? I don't know. And self is the negation of completeness as reality. Wow. No man has seen self at any time. We are what we believe and what it implies by a process of time in the conception. Creation is caused by this bondage to formula. And this is all with the word ecstasy. And I'd like to spend more time on, and again, it's one of these papers, and Belanca, I will get it to you, dear. Actions are the expressions of ideas bound up in the belief. They, being inherent, are obscure, their operation indirect, easily they deceive introspection. Fruits of action are twofold, heaven or hell, their unity or nothingness, purgatory or indifference. In heaven, there is desire for women. Hell, the desire intense. Purgatory is expectation delayed. Indifference, but disappointment till recovery. Damn, I almost feel like I'm on a game of password here, you know? Isn't that interesting? Actions are the expressions of ideas bound up in the belief. Okay, I can get that. And I got this idea of this atom, you know, with this neutron, electron spinning around. They, being inherent, are obscure, their operation indirect, easily they deceive introspection. Fruits of action are twofold, negative or positive, heaven or hell, their unity or nothingness, purgatory or indifference. There's that word indifference. I mean, you want to talk about one of those, to me, like a 5-star gold word, indifference. Indifference is so above contempt, you know. In heaven, there is desire for women. Whoa, 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 whoa. Now, do I find it curious that we have been reading something that is completely contrarian to modern day beliefs and societal customs? So in this book, which is, you know, the book of pleasure, would be considered more occult than conical. Just saying, although the Song of Solomon would be considered X-rated, most likely on this platform. But get this, in heaven there is desire for women. All right, is it just me, or or do I need to state the obvious? I mean, that's saying there are no women. So where are the women? That's where I want to go. Where are the women? Hell, the desire intense. Was there saying that there ain't no women in hell either? What the hell's going on here? I mean, because this totally sucks. I didn't sign up for this. No way. Anyway, purgatory is expectation delayed. Yeah, I could see that. Indifference, but disappointment till recovery. Then verily they are one and the same. The wise pleasure seeker, having realized they are different degrees of desire and never desirable, gives up both virtue and vice and becomes a chiast. Riding the shark of his desire, he crosses the oceans of the dual principle and engages himself in self-love. Religions are the projection of incapacity, the imaginations of fear, the veneer of superstition. That paradox is truth, while oftentimes the ornamentation of imbecility. As a virtue in the idea of maximize pleasure cheaply, remit your sins and excuse them, is but ceremonial, the expression of puppetry to the governing fear. Yes, what you have ordained in your religiousness is your very rack. Imagine through it be. Wow, you know, the rack. The prospect is not pleasant. You have taught yourself. It has become inborn and your body is sensitized. Wow, I mean, sheesh. Holy crap. I mean, we could just get into this one. I mean, wow. Interesting little book here, you have to admit. Let's see. Some praise the idea of faith. To believe that they are gods or anything else would make them such proving by all they do, to be full of its non-belief. Better is it to admit incapacity or insignificance than reinforce it by faith, since the superficial protects but does not change the vital. Therefore, reject the former for the latter. This formula is deception, and they are deceived, the negation of their purpose. Faith is denial, or the metaphor, the idiocy. Hence, it always fails. To make their bondage more secure, governments force religions down the throats of their slaves, and it always succeeds. Those who escape it are but few. Therefore, their honor is the greater. When faith perishes, the self shall come into its own. Other, less foolish, obscure the memory that God is the conception of themselves and is much subject to law. Then this ambition of faith, it is so very desirable. Myself, I have not yet seen a man who is not God already. You could say goddess. I mean, wow. I don't know about y'all, but this is not on your everyday. Like, well, let's check it on that channel. What the hell is that guy talking about? Anyway, we'll get back to the Book of Pleasure. It's because I want to bring in this other one here, the Book of Gates. This one goes back a ways. It's from the short form of the Book of Amtuat and the Book of Gates. The Book of Gates is an ancient Egyptian cosmological treatise describing the architecture and inhabitants of the Tuat, the underworld which the boat of the sun god Ra traverses during the night hours. Excuse me, this is the second volume of 3 volumes of the Budge series, which deals with the books of the underworld, the Egyptian heaven and hell. It also includes a short summary of the book of Amtuat and the longer version of which it's comprised. And again, when you read some of these things, in which if you want this again, you can go virtually to any one of these. It's interesting because if you study Jewish culture, the city of Jerusalem has 12 gates. Each gate has its rank, its position, and you go, okay, this is very odd, because it is said that what we think we create, and that's why when you fall under the spell, so to speak, people don't think about their death, their demise. They don't think about that this realm could be a different realm than that which they have been taught to believe and told to accept. Any other thinking outside of that is foreign and is thus a threat to that established thought. And we have been taught to reject those types of thoughts as being foolishness, sacrilegious, heresy, yada, yada, yada. But the Egyptian played as much a role into Judaism as Christianity is the imposter of paganism. It's true. And I've got a couple of books in here I was going to bring up, but my time, of course. That Book of Pleasure, it's just one that just, wow. I've got to go back and really hit on those a couple of times. But this is an interesting story, because this story has a lot of influence into what I do believe many of us, how other religions have borrowed from these ideas and have merely reconstituted them into their own form. And it's interesting. So this is the first hour. It says, this God entered into the earth through the hall of the horizon of the Amnetet. There are 120 Araturu to journey over in this hall before the man arrives at the gods of the Tuat. and I won't get into all of the first part of it, but so in each one of these hours, you learn. It's kind of like playing D&D, and or the Children of Fire. You get a little bit more knowledge. You get a little bit better the lay of the land. Who is who? What is what? Yeah. So as he scrolls down, smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got it, whatever your favorite libation is. So we go through all the way through the 9th hour, the 10th hour. I mean, how long is night? The 11th hour, and then the 12th hour. And now we get to the Book of Gates. And this is such an interesting story. I have no doubt that as we're going to get into it, not so much today because time is getting away. I think we could actually perform one of these. I have no doubt that it has been probably done. It says the text of the Book of Gates, printed in the following pages, is taken from the alabaster sarcophagus of King Seti, approximately 1370 BC, which is preserved in the Museum of Sir John Soane at the Lincoln's Inn Fields. This sarcophagus is undoubtedly one of the chief authorities for the text of the remarkable book. But before any attempt is made to describe the arrangement of the scenes and the inscriptions which accompany them, it will be well to recall the principal facts connected with its discovery by Genevieve Battista Belzoni, who was fortunately placed them on record in his narrative of the operations and recent discoveries within the pyramids, temples, tombs, and excavations in Egypt and Nubia, London. So, this has got foundation. We know where it came from. This is older than the Bible. This is older than the New Testament. This is older than the Quran. This is old stuff, which would tell me that, well, we ought to listen to what it has to say. It says the Valley of the Tombs of the King on the western bank of the Nile at Thebes is in the bed of the watercourse. He found a spot where the ground bore traces of having been moved. On the 19th of the month, his workmen made a way through the sand and fragments of stone, which had been piled up there, and entered the first quarter or passage of a magnificent tomb, which he soon discovered to have been made for one of the great kings of Egypt. Wow. I think on this, on another level, that I do believe in the afterlife. And I do believe that there are kingdoms. I do believe that there are hierarchy and structure. I don't know if we're all made slave to them, because I have a feeling that, if you've pretty much been awakened to the game of this thing called religion, unless they're going to wipe our memories, which might happen, but we really do come in on the other side going, we would become a real pain in their ass. All right, I digress. A second quarter led him to a square chamber, which, being 30 feet deep, formed a serious obstacle in the way of any unauthorized intruder, and served to catch any rainwater which might make its way down the corridors from the entrance. How clever. Beyond this chamber are two halls, and from the first of these, Belzoni passed through other corridors and rooms until he entered the vaulted chamber in which stood the sarcophagus. Wow. The sarcophagus chamber is situated at a distance of 320 feet from the entrance of the first corridor and is 180 feet below the level of the ground. Belzoni succeeded in bringing the sarcophagus from its chamber into the light of day without injury, and in due course it arrived in England. The negotiations which he opened with the trustee of the British Museum, to whom it purchased was first proposed, fell through, and he subsequently sold it to Sir John Sloane, it is said, for the sum of £2,000. An examination of the sarcophagus showed that both it and its cover were hollowed out of a monolithic blocks of alabaster. Wow. And it is probable, as Mr. Sharp says, that these were quarried in the mountains near Albatropolis, the district which was known to the Egyptians by the name Hetna, and is situated near the ruins known in modern times by the name of Tala Marai. In the Utnu quarries, large numbers of inscriptions written chiefly in the hieratic characters have been found, and from its interesting selection of the published works. So, I'm not going to have enough time to get into this, and so I don't want to start on this because then, but take it for my word, this has a lot to do with what we were talking about this week. It's a little bit more longer than I said. We're also going to get into this one, most likely next week. This is the Gardnerian Book of Shadows. We'll also get into another one, Modern Magic. You're going to like this one. And then this one I know we've been doing on the candles and the incense. This one here is working with gold. Yeah. Told you I'd bring you this one as well. And there's different forms. I mean, I went out and let me get out of here. See, y'all don't need to see the rest of this, but I did get gold leaf, and it's so interesting to see how this all ties in. And it tied into with the gates, opening the gates within that document from the ancient Egyptians' words. So anyway, so much to cover, and I felt like, it's like, man, not enough time. But isn't that the way it is? All right, gold, man, it's gold. I'm telling you. I mean, if you work with herbs, I mean, and you think about different metals having different weights, different tones, frequencies, gold's pretty powerful. I digress. All right, folks, this has been fun. That Book of Pleasure, I telling you, that one has got some good mind coitus there. I mean, that's kind of the stuff you're walking up to a buffet, and ain't the cheap shit either. I mean, you're talking about a buffet. Oh, yeah. It's true, Joyce. Gold leaf is so delicate, powerful too. It is. Of course, when I was thinking of buffets, how many of you ever went to Vegas back in the days when the buffets were the big selling thing? That was a fun time to be in Vegas, but yeah. I mean, I ain't talking about no cheap buffet, I'm talking about the ones that you look at this and you go, the first thing you go, there's no way I can eat all of this. But the next one is that I want to taste every bit of everything, Y'all know. Brian, thank you. You have a good afternoon yourself, my friend. And you are indeed, my friend. I appreciate it. Robert Cantu, how are you? It's like the buffets. I mean, back in the day, they were great. I mean, geez. It's like some of the cocktail parties I used to go to when back in the day when I was active in the film and video industry. Each year you would have your big conventions. The national broadcasters have their big one. It's usually right there, April. Anyway, the one I always enjoyed going to was the record industry. They had some choice cocktail parties. And what I mean by choice is that the spreads that they would have, oh, yeah. I was never a fan of caviar, But there was this one, it was, we were in Dallas, and I don't know what type of caviar. And here it is. This is almost like 35 years ago, but it was impressive upon my mind, obviously. But it had some of the best caviar. It was just, and then you find out why you have champagne with caviar. But anyway, I digress. And talking about crab, that's what I'm talking about in some of those buffets and back in the days in Vegas. I mean, you could actually get real Alaskan king crab. You know what I'm talking about? Robert, good to hear. Good to hear. Thank you. Well, favor be to you. Hey, London man, what's that? Fresh eggs. Well, maybe that's because, that's when they give you the libations, it's like, here, have some of this. Get to that threshold where you're going, damn, well, them eggs look good. No way in the world you'd ever eat them in the other way, would you? Okay, folks, I appreciate all of you. Have yourself a fantastic day. I really cherish these times we get together. It's fun. It's rarity to have such groups of people that you can come in and just be yourself, be relaxed. Badass words, weird world. Yeah. We are broadcasters of our mind. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. All right, you beautiful soul beings. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And see y'all tomorrow. I think I should. Off down to the DMV, but I have favor on my life, in and out. So there we go. Bonnie, thank you. All right. Eyes to see 33. All right. I appreciate